This is focused on a designer-esque iris, very powdery, no punches held, unapologetic in its powderiness. This is meant to be a little bit more earthy, meant to represent the more natural form of iris, which is orris. Today we have a highly anticipated release we're reviewing. That is Dior's latest fragrance, Dior Homme Parfum 2025. This fragrance follows the trend of Dior reinventing the Dior Homme line. They obviously started it off in 2020 with Dior Homme 2020. They showed that the line was kind of generally going more modern, but more simplistic in my opinion. Dior Homme Sport 2021 came out actually mainly in 2022 really, but that was a great flank. I really like that flank. I think that was easily an improvement over the original Dior Homme Sport. And now we have Dior Homme Parfum. It's interesting how they kind of skipped over Dior Homme Intense. I've given this a full wearing. I'll give you guys what my first impressions were and obviously my full review and full thoughts. Let's talk about Dior Homme Parfum's 2025 scent profile, performance, when I think you should wear this, and my final score out of 10. And here's what the bottle looks like. I actually quite like it. What do you guys think of this new design? I also have the original Dior Homme Parfum bottle over here. This is from 2014, I believe. Now, when you think Dior Homme Parfum, you think of a designer fragrance that's essentially niche. It is dark, intense, masculine, powdery iris with leather. This was art in a bottle, one of the greatest fragrances ever made in the designer realm, in general, as well as just in Dior as well as a brand. This is a masterpiece fragrance. It's not always the easiest to wear, but it's rich. It's got a lot going on. It's interesting. One of my favorite designers. So this has a lot to live up to. This has high expectations put upon it, and rightly so. How does it match? By the way, guys, this is made by Francis Kurkdjian. He's the new head perfumer at Dior, and he also made this little known fragrance as well. I got a sample of this, Sauvage Forte, which is the water-based Sauvage, which everyone hates. And I've now tried it on, and I just want to say that it deserves all the hate it gets. This is horrible. This is like a 4 out of 10 at most, being generous. It's weird. It smells like a moisturizer. It looks like a moisturizer. It feels like one. It smells like a weird soapy moisturizer with some musks, some milky sandalwood. It kind of feels like it was the start of an idea. This feels horribly rushed, a terrible debut. I don't know what happened there with Francis Kurkdjian. 37.9% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys really want to see our channel grow, go ahead and click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. But smell this in the air. This smells pleasant. Let me put on another first application, get the opening, and that's the atomizer, by the way, guys. When you first apply Dior Homme Parfum 2025, I would say this smells a little bit spicy, ambery, woody, a tiny bit boozy, although it's not on the note breakdown, and it smells a tiny bit earthy and dark as well. So it kind of matches the idea, but it's quite different from the original Dior Homme Parfum. This is focused on a designer-esque iris, very powdery, no punches held, unapologetic in its powderiness. This is meant to be a little bit more earthy, meant to represent the more natural form of iris, which is orris. I spent £100 of 50 ml on this bottle, so I think that's too low a price to be using real orris. They're probably using a very, very small real amount. In the official olfactory notes on the website, they say that this unveils the iris from the root to flower, giving a sense of totality. So if they're saying the root, that is orris. That's the real stuff. It uses around 5 years to be harvested. Orris, real stuff. It is very difficult to harvest, very labor intensive. It's one of the most expensive ingredients in perfumery. We use it a lot in Mr. Elegance, our own release. Mr. Elegance has a high amount of orris. I don't think this does, and the price doesn't reflect that either. The powerful and expressive notes of its rhizome, almost reminiscent of coffee and chocolate, mingle with the soft, tender accents of its petals. And then it goes on to the ambery accord, a gourmet ambery accord, where the density of patchouli meets a powerful vetiver, mingled with the notes of coumarin and dry accents of Cathay. So coumarin, Cathay, that's all tonka bean, that's kind of scent profile. And you can kind of see how Dior are doing this simplistic note breakdown. It's like they're copying the Hugo Boss bottle Absolu note breakdown, the Valentino Born in Roma style, all overly simplistic. They're kind of treating consumers like idiots, basically, doing this style. It doesn't really tell you how the fragrance actually smells. And to me, that kind of represents what this fragrance is all about. This is a nice fragrance overall, but it's nowhere near the level of art that the original 2014 release was. This is way, way better. It's a different level of perfumery. However, I don't want to judge this based on hype or the expectations I had beforehand. Let's try and make this a standalone review. In the opening, you get all those aspects I was talking about. And I will say I get a chocolatey aspect to this fragrance. The opening has a little bit of harshness. It kind of feels like a designer-esque woodiness is in here. It feels like they're using cheaper ingredients, honestly. It doesn't smell as expensive as the original Dior Homme Parfum, but again, let's get away from that. I feel like there are some nice aspects to this fragrance. That chocolate accord does smell really nice. It kind of harkens back to the original Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense. It has that cacao aspect in there. It is quite sexy in that way. I feel like this is a safe, simplistic designer scent that has that hint of iris, but it's more like a cacao, ambery, earthy, dark, powdery iris that probably uses a tiny bit of real orris in here. Performance is pretty good. Probably gonna get you just about over 8 hours with a medium projection. It's gonna be usable in the spring, in the winter, and in the autumn time, those 3 seasons, mainly an evening scent. Someone who wants a simplistic but quite classy designer evening scent, this will work for you. It's not a bad fragrance, but to me, this smells like it should have been in the Givenchy Gentleman line, not in the Dior Homme line. It smells more actually in that style, and it just feels like this is overpriced, honestly. I feel like this should be 3/4 of its price because I just don't think it's giving that same quality as the original Dior Homme Parfum. On the website, unfortunately, I'm no longer seeing the original Dior Homme Parfum, which is really sad. I really hope they haven't discontinued it permanently. It really should be there, in my opinion. That's better. That's a 10 out of 10 easily. To me, I will say, guys, this is probably a 7.5 out of 10. This is an interesting, sexy, masculine evening scent that doesn't blow your socks away, but a lot of people will probably still enjoy this. Whether or not you want to spend that kind of money on this fragrance, it's up to you, but I would say don't blind buy this. Try it out first, see if it's your style. I think some guys will find this sexy. This is definitely an improvement over Sauvage Forte. So I do feel like Dior are really focusing too much on the trends and trying to make fragrances that are just gonna make them money. It's annoying. I wish they were going more into the artistic direction like they used to with Dior Homme Parfum as an example, or even Fahrenheit, all these classic releases from them. 040, I don't know, I don't even know what to say about this, but Dior Homme Parfum feels really simplistic, step in the wrong direction, and it just feels like they are rushing these releases with Francis Kurkdjian, these past 2 fragrances. I don't know what's going on in their process, but they need to slow things down and really make the most of Francis Kurkdjian. I don't know what's happened to him in Dior so far. He hasn't created the best works in the main line of things anyways. Maybe the private line stuff is better. But yeah, we really need to slow these things down, go more into an artistic direction and create some more memorable fragrances. But there we are, guys. I give the new Dior Homme Parfum 2025 a 7.5 out of 10. If they've got rid of the original Dior Homme Parfum, that's a huge shame and a big mistake from Dior. I really hope they do not cut that completely. What are your thoughts on this release, guys? Are you interested in trying it out based on my review? Have you tried it out already? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below if you have. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my recent video on Latifa Acid Bourbon. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.